Welcome back to the Possibility Mom Live. In today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you, peeling back the curtain on what it is like to coach with me. If you have ever wondered or asked yourself that question before, welcome back to the Possibility Mom Live. If you are watching this on YouTube, you will see that I am embracing fall in Southwest Florida. I've got my cashmere on. I've got my deep green and brown eyeshadow game on, even though it is 95 degrees Fahrenheit, which is approximately 30 degrees Celsius for my Canadian friends. It is still hot here in Southwest Florida, but I am embracing fall. One of the things that I find just a little bit challenging, although I will never complain about the heat because I grew up for, I guess 35 years living in frigid, cold, 6-month long, at least it felt like 6-month long winters. The funniest thing happened to me the other day. I was making room in our freezer. Um, we have a deep freezer in the garage, which houses our cow. We have half a cow we always buy. So anyway, I was like, something was wrong with it. There was this like level of ice that had developed right between the opening and the lid. And I was chipping away at it. And I was like, why is this such a familiar feeling or a familiar action? And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I used to do in the winters on my windshield, on my car. You couldn't leave. Like, for anyone else who lives or has never experienced this, I need to paint the picture for you. When you live in the north, you cannot start your car and progress to your destination many, many days in the winter without chipping off all of the ice on your windshield. So, anyways, I will never complain about the heat because the trade-off for incredible, incredible months in the winter without chipping ice off my windshield is just so worth it. But it's 95 degrees and I am wearing my cashmere and I just don't care. So here we go. So today I wanted to really unpack what it is like to coach with me in case you have asked yourself that question or were curious or were wondering exactly how do I work with you, Lisa Canning. I've been getting many messages since my Possibility Mom Summit. Thank you again, everybody who joined me for that business summit experience. It was such a blast, and I received so many messages from all of you. And as you heard last week on the podcast, I launched a brand new coaching experience from that called Wealth Without Guilt. So I want to just unpack. There are two main ways that you can work with me. And this has come, just side note, from a very long evolution. Just very quick backstory. I was an interior designer for 10 years in Toronto, Canada. I worked both in front and behind the camera. I was working in production design for TV as well as with families in residences across Canada and beyond. And then as I had so many children, evolved my business and my life as people were starting to ask me more questions about life management and life design than about interior design. So I eventually started morphing my business in what it is today, which is coaching for moms, particularly. I have a heart for moms. I don't want a single mom to ever feel the way I used to feel, which was trapped in my life and miserable and guilty all the time. And the way that my coaching business started, which was very much when we moved to Southwest Florida, was with one-on-one coaching. And I loved it so, so much. It was such a gift. It was right at the beginning of the pandemic is when I started becoming a more formal coach. And in the years since the pandemic, I have gotten training and coaching in how to become a coach. More recently, my coaching with Metanoia Catholic's Purgative Way program has been hugely transformational for me in making my coaching more Catholic. And so I want to share with you the two main ways that you can work with me now. The first way is my group coaching experience called Motherhood Without guilt. And motherhood without guilt is a experience primarily focused on Catholic moms. Now, if you are not Catholic, but you are open to the idea of keeping Jesus Christ at the center of your personal transformation, you are so welcome to join me inside of Motherhood Without Guilt. And anyone really who is just open to the concepts that I'm talking about. I don't think you have to be Catholic, to be very frank. I think so many of the things that we discuss in Motherhood Without Guilt are universal principles. But of course, I speak very candidly and very specifically to a Catholic audience. And when I share with you what's included inside of Motherhood Guilt, without guilt, you'll understand. So, who is Motherhood Without Guilt for? This is particularly for the mom who is overwhelmed, who is exhausted, who feels like she's not really keeping up with life, but that she is sort of enduring it every single day. It's for the mom who feels trapped. Maybe like me, felt trapped by having to work, for example, but maybe you're the kind of mom who feels trapped in her home and you need to have some serious both mindset and skill set shifts in order to no longer feel trapped by your life. Maybe you're a mom who loves being a mom and is happily choosing to be a mom, wants to be a mom, but you're feeling this sense of dissatisfaction. You're feeling this sense of um, uh, like there's something more, or there is something that you're sort of missing out on, or there's something that you're frustrated by. Again, this is for a mom who feels potentially trapped or guilty in some way and would like to live a life of greater freedom. And I'm just going to actually, if you are watching this on YouTube, and I want to remind you for my podcast listeners that you have the option to either watch or listen. You can listen to this podcast anywhere you love to listen to podcasts, or you can watch this weekly on my YouTube channel. And so let me just share my screen with you and show you what you get inside of Motherhood Without Guilt. So this is for moms. You might be working, you might be a stay-at-home mom, you might be a single mom, you might be a mom of many, you might be a mom of one child, you might be a mom of eight like me, and it really is for anyone who feels like they are depleted. If you feel like at the end of every single day, you hit the pillow and you feel just like, I have nothing more to give, and how on earth am I going to do this all again tomorrow? Motherhood Without Guilt is 100% for you. Okay, so that's a little bit about who is it for. What are some of the transformations that can be expected with Motherhood Without Guilt? Well, I have worked with some incredible moms. I've worked with some moms who, here are some of them, who have felt like they didn't know their purpose, or they didn't have clarity on what they were supposed to be doing every day. They knew they wanted to be moms, but they felt like there's something maybe imbalanced or disordered about the way that they were living. And then as a result of the inclusions in Motherhood Without Guilt, felt like they were able to gain clarity on how they were meant to spend their time. And a big reason why I use the word guilt in my two main offerings is because I really believe, and this is what the Lord has shown me, that we're not supposed to live in guilt all the time. I think that is the biggest lie that we are told or fed, wherever it comes from. We are not meant to live in guilt. Now, does it mean that sometimes it's going to be a struggle? Does it mean that sometimes you're going to feel guilt? Does it mean that there's going to be hardship and suffering within motherhood? Absolutely. But I do not believe we are meant to live in guilt forever. we read this in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. If you're watching it on my screen here, only in God will he find the truth. We're talking about us people, find the truth and happiness he never stops searching for. This is Catechism of the Catholic Church 27. And I really believe that we can spend a lot of time searching for this truth. We can spend a lot of time searching for this happiness. We can search for it on Instagram, we can search for it on YouTube, we can search for it on pretty pages and pictures on Pinterest. We can search for it in a lot of places. But I believe this happiness is an interior one. And it is one that is informed by a creator who loves us. And that is the freedom that I pray that motherhood without guilt gives my people. Going from a life that feels trapped to a life that feels more free, going to a life that feels busy and overwhelming to a life that feels abundant and like there is time for everything in the day. Really specifically, some stories that I want to share with you that have come out of motherhood without guilt. I coach some women who are very in high performance jobs. So, women who are doing things at a very high executive level with major organizations. I coach women who are in positions like surgeons and doctors where they are very busy. And I coach, of course, stay at home moms who, prior to joining Motherhood Without Guilt, were feeling uh, trapped and feeling like they didn't have freedom in how they were living. And the very tangible outcomes out the other end are freedom, the feeling of freedom. And again, huge reminder here, this freedom doesn't come necessarily from changing your circumstances. Although, of course, that can be helpful. Reducing hours at work will obviously be helpful in a lot of ways. Finding a hobby outside of the home might improve your situation. But if you do that and you are coming at your situation with the exact same kinds of thoughts, you're still going to feel trapped in whatever you're doing. So that's a huge thing to remember. And so a couple of things I want to highlight that come with the Motherhood Without Guilt experience. You get access to the Art of Being a Woman masterclass founded by my dear friend and colleague and mentor, January Donovan. And it's a 22 lesson program focused on very practical human formation, skill building. There is mindset talked about in this course. There is skill set talked about in this course. I would say the big fruit of the Art of Being a Woman masterclass is skill set. So you get access to this robust 22 lesson course with Motherhood Without Guilt. But I really wanted to make this a program that places Christ at the center of your personal development. And so I've partnered with Leah Darrow, the beautiful, incredible Leah Darrow, who has created a spiritual formation program to act as a companion to the content of the Art of Being a Woman masterclass. It is honestly a standalone program in its own right. It's just an incredible, robust program where she is taking in very short amount of time. Her lessons are only about 30 minutes or so, and she's pulling in scripture. She's pulling in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. She's pulling in early church fathers, doctors of the church, saints, novenas. Again, very authentically Catholic resources, but if you are open to these kinds of resources, I think so many people could benefit because these are truly universal principles. And you get these videos dripped out to you throughout the course of the experience. And it has been so edifying and fulfilling. And she just has if you've ever heard Leah Darrow speak, she's like a preacher, let me tell you. She's got just the gift of fire in her belly, and it comes out of her mouth with a whole lot of love and a whole lot of sass and a whole lot of personality and a whole lot of clarity and conviction. And it has just been a beautiful thing to witness and to learn from. But then you also get Catholic mindset coaching with the Metanoia Academy. This is such a valuable resource because it is a growing bank of content. So what do I mean by that? You get access to what is a monthly subscription. And what they do is they add to weekly coaching calls, to monthly training and monthly courses. And basically, as the academy grows, you get more and more and more value, meaning that there are recordings from past coaching calls, there are recordings from past months. Coaching courses. Erin Ingold is my personal mindset coach. And this is where I got my mindset training from. And if you stay tuned to the end of this episode, you're going to get a taste of what that looks like in real time. So please listen to the end so you can actually hear what it is like to coach with me. So inside Motherhood Without Guilt, you get access to me as your coach. For those of you watching, let me scroll back up to what you actually get. You get access to me as your coach in a small group environment every other week, and as well as to access to me in weekly office hours. And I'll be honest with you, at time of recording, those office hours tend to be kind of small. And so people get a bunch of coaching in there. So there's incredible value right now as the group is in its emerging status. So this is the time you want to get in. Like, you really want to get in now as it is still growing in its size, because there's lots of time for you to be seen and lots of time for you to be coached in real time. Motherhood Without Guilt also gets you access to all of this other stuff. So you get the biweekly coaching, you get the lifetime access to Leah Darrow's content, you get the 6-month membership to the Metanoia Catholic Academy, you get a hardcover Metanoia Catholic journal delivered to your home with some instructions on how to use it. You get access to my program, Conquer Your Calendar, which will help you develop the skill of time management. You get access to my vision board program, Future of Hope. You get access to the Possibility Mom Summit, not the business one that I just hosted, but my previous one, with incredible recordings and more supplementary content for you. It's over $7,000 in bonus material for just $14.97 at time of recording. And so I just really want to encourage you, if you are looking for greater freedom, if you are looking for greater transformation, if you would like to put Christ at the center of your personal development, Motherhood Without Guilt is huge, and it's for you. And one of the fun transformations that has occurred inside of the women who have gone through the inclusions in Motherhood Without Guilt is some women went through the program and discovered that starting a business was for them. And what I was doing with business coaching was, again, primarily one-on-one. So people would work with me over the course of 8 calls. And I started to see that there were totally common patterns that people needed. Obviously, they needed coaching in how to develop a product. They needed coaching in what price the product would be. They needed coaching on how to actually get this message out into the world via social media or one-on-one through people. And they needed coaching, of course, on delivering the product, both in a pedagogy type of way, like teaching it, but also in how do you actually make a page on a website so that people can access your proprietary content, and then of course give you money for it. How do you even do all of that with credit cards, with landing pages, emails, all the things? And so what I started doing was running something called my Personal Branding Bootcamp, which many of you watching have participated in, and I'm so grateful that you did. But after running that a few times, I started to realize, oh, there's another gap. And this other gap is the one that I am so excited. I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, I honestly could cry. I think it's the pregnancy hormones and the fact that I'm wearing a cashmere sweater and it's starting to get really hot. But I could feel it. I could feel the emotions. The gap that I was noticing was that I could give a woman, a smart, super savvy, super competent woman, all the skills for how to launch an online business. Literally show them step by step, screen by screen, how to do certain things But if there was a block in her mindset, if there was some kind of message she was telling herself, like, you can't be a good mom and run a business, or wanting to make money is actually super, super bad and will somehow not make you holy or not make you humble. If she was telling herself there are way more qualified people than you, if she was telling herself this isn't worth it and you shouldn't do it, what are people going to think of you? Just insert any reason. What I was starting to observe was that no amount of coaching, cheerleading, you can do it, accountability tools, all the things. Nothing was going to, honestly, no amount of skills were going to matter if they did not have correct mindset. And so that is where my brand new group coaching experience, Wealth Without Guilt, was born from. And I just want to highlight this comment here over on YouTube. Bullseye, Abigail says, mindset, conviction mindset. But here's the thing, it's not like there is a nuance to this that I learned in my coaching through Metanoia Catholic's Purgative Way mindset training program. They developed a program specifically for people who want to coach in an authentically Catholic way. And it was a huge, game changer for me. You've heard me talk about it here. You've heard Aaron be a guest on many things that I have done. There is a thought that causes the conviction. And when we can actually get clearer on what thoughts will bring us the conviction, then you can become unstoppable. Well, until you have the next thought that gets in the way. But my point is that we have to develop the specific thought. It's not enough to just be like, I can do it, or I was made to do this. We've got to actually identify the thought that was holding you back and then come up with another thought that will help you combat the natural human thoughts that we all have. P.S. All those things that I was saying earlier, there's other people who are more qualified. What are people going to think? All that kind of stuff I deal with every single day. Just FYI, every time I launch something new, I have incredible, I don't know if I want to call it imposter syndrome, but I have a deep, deep, deep fear of failing. Like deep, like just I can't think of an analogy right now to explain how deep a fear of failing I have, but it is a deep, deep, deep one. And I have to self-coach my way, and sometimes not self-coach, like get my coach in to talk to me on how to overcome my fear of failure. And it all starts in our thoughts. And that is why, and again, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to pull up the page for Wealth Without Guilt and share that with you right now. So, who is Wealth Without Guilt for? This is specifically for the mom. And now I get asked this question quite often. Do you have to be a mom to work with me? And the answer is no. I just have a really deep calling, or I just really feel like I know the problems that occur in moms. And there's so much guilt. Like, it's just it. There's so much guilt with moms. And so I speak very specifically to moms because obviously it's my experience. But I have a lot of people who work with me who are not moms, who come on in and um, get a lot out of the program. And so, no, it's absolutely not a prerequisite that you be a mom. I just, obviously, in a lot of my examples and my coaching, you'll often hear there are unique problems that moms deal with, like childcare, or like feeling divided, with their time or what have you. Obviously, that applies specifically to moms, but time management obviously is a universal challenge, and feeling guilty about how you spend your time is definitely a universal challenge. So you can absolutely not be a mom to join either program. Just obviously, please be aware that my examples and whatnot are all going to be very mom related. Okay, so Wealth Without Guilt is for the person who wants to achieve financial freedom without sacrificing family, faith, or what matters most. And who this is for an entrepreneur at any level. There are, people. I've been getting some questions around. Well, is this for beginners? Is this for people who are like intermediate? Is this people who are advanced? And I really believe that this is for any level. Now, I will tell you just from who I'm seeing are enrolling inside of Wealth Without Guilt, there is definitely more people who want to start a business right now in Wealth Without Guilt, but the principles I'm teaching, which I'll get into in just a moment, are really for anyone at any stage if you struggle with these principles that I'm about to explain. And so if you have no business, if you have an established business, it's really for you if you want, again, the word is freedom. Freedom for how you spend your time, freedom from thoughts about making money and that somehow that might be bad, freedom around wanting to do something a different way. That's a big thing that I feel really, really passionate about. And let's go into the four pillars that come inside of Wealth Without Guilt, because I think it really explains who Wealth Without Guilt is for. And again, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see them on your screen right now. So the first pillar inside of Wealth Without Guilt is, what is your unique call? And I really believe that we are called by God to use our gifts and talents in a very unique way. And so that's going to look different for all, which means that we've got to turn off the internal judge and have the courage to clarify what our unique call is and then do it and be okay that nobody else is going to do it the same way and nobody else should do it the same way, and vice versa. We shouldn't be trying to copy someone else's unique call or compare ourselves to the way that other people are choosing to run their businesses or run their lives. So that's the first pillar, is what is your unique call? And I've developed a training on how to figure out what your unique call is. The second pillar inside of Wealth Without Guilt, that is an extension of this first pillar, is, what does success look like for you? So when we have declared that, yes, I am uniquely called to do this in a very specific way, that's going to come with a set of parameters, meaning there are certain things that are going to be success to you, and there are going to be certain things that you're just like, this is like who I am not. Don't come to me for this, you know? So I'll give you an example. I built my business before emulating the success of others. Like, my business had to look like this because my girlfriend's business looked like this. My even my coaching, I was like, well, most people are doing 8 weeks of coaching at this price point, so I'm just do it the same way. And what I was finding was that I was absolutely limited by the number of people I could help because it came with a time exchange. And I was so unsatisfied with that. I knew I eventually wanted to move to group coaching so I could help basically almost an unlimited number of women make progress in their goals and what they felt uniquely they were being called into. And so we're going to have specific things that look different, meaning there might be a way you run your schedule that is totally different than other people. Let me give you an example. I was just having a chat with someone who was like, I would love it if I only ran my coaching programs for 11 months of the year so that I could take a break, this certain month. And I was like, who says you even have to run your programs for 11 months? What if you're the kind of coach that only has programs that are 4 months long? This same conversation, we were talking about how she was inspired by the example of somebody else who took, if I'm not mistaken, it was 1 week off a month, where they did not book anything. It was like a flexible week. And I was like, what if I told you that's what my schedule looks like right now, but it's actually 2 weeks out of the month where I only do things with clients on certain weeks, and then there's no client time on the following week. I'm going to be modifying this, of course, for my new group coaching experiences, but that's like up until very recently, my weeks looked like client on, like week A was client week B was no clients, week A again was client week, and then week B, no clients. There are a myriad of ways. What if success for you is not working past 3 p.m.? What if success for you is only working when your children sleep? Like, I could go on and on and on with examples of how you get to define and determine, this is who I am, this is who I am not, this is what success is going to look like for me, and this is what like failure looks like for me. I really believe, and this is where I think Wealth Without Guilt is also a very different offering. Yes, I'm going to be offering parameters so that you can measure your growth and have accountability, but I'm offering a lot of flexibility in what the program looks like for you specifically, because this is a huge thing for me. Success is not working, I don't know, a minimum of 8 hours a week, for example. This is something Beauty Counter really taught me and really challenged me. When I came into Beauty Counter, I didn't believe that it was possible to work minimal hours for a certain amount of outcome. I didn't believe it was possible. I was like, that is a total hoax. But what I have learned through mentorship inside of Beauty Counter is that when you identify the correct actions, and of course, this might take some time and this might take some trial and error, but when you identify the correct actions that will yield you the outcome you want, which, for example, is sales and money, right? It is possible to run a business from home with loads of flexibility in your pajamas sometimes, with declaring what success is going to look like for you. So meaning, if you want success to look like 5 hours a week, there is a plan for you. Now, might it take you a little bit longer than if you had more time? Like, I'm not trying to be naive here. Like, there are going to be obviously certain outcomes that will be realistic or probable, but I really want to challenge everybody that the same way that I had this big limiting belief about getting into Beauty Counter and that it's possible to only work that kind of a business 5 hours a week and yield like high 4-figure results, you might be limiting what is actually possible. And you really don't know until you try. And here's the thing that I learned in my own experience in Beauty Counter, and that's a whole other podcast episode, PS. If you're interested in my own personal experience with building a team and sales through Beauty Counter, I was the biggest naysayer in the beginning. Like, I signed, to be honest, in the very beginning, that's a whole other podcast. We'll save that for another time. But I was not on board when I signed up in terms of my belief. I had to grow in my belief a lot. But what that experience has shown me is that there is a path for everyone, and it doesn't have to look the same. And that is why I really believe you have to define success for yourself and let that be your guiding source. Like, let your definition of success. So that's the second pillar of Wealth Without Guilt. The third pillar of Wealth Without Guilt is, why and how do you buffer? So buffering essentially, and give me a big amen if you understand this in the notes. And I know we've done other episodes on buffering, and I know I've touched on this, and so we'll put those links below for the other episodes I've done. But buffering is what we do to distract ourselves from uncomfortable emotions. So, for example, I am a big bufferer around financial things like tax stuff, when I have to get myself organized for my accountant, like just a bunch of things financially that I'm currently working through, which will lead us to the fourth pillar of Wealth Without Guilt, but I'm currently actively working through. I will buffer with social media big time. If I have to build anything for the first time, so for example, like a spreadsheet for client. The way that I use a lot of Google Sheets for my clients inside of Motherhood Without Guilt and Wealth Without Guilt. When I have to build something new for the first time, oh my word, do I buffer with funny videos on YouTube. Sometimes I buffer with online shopping. Sometimes I buffer with, I mean, a heck of a lot of Instagram. I will sometimes say, "Oh, I'm doing research. I'm researching on Instagram. I need to stay relevant with what people are doing. What are the common trends on Reels today? Nobody needs to watch an hour of Reels to research. Anyway, my point is that we all have ways that we buffer, and we need to identify why and how we're buffering, and then of course develop a plan to stop, because we can save ourselves so much time and energy and drama by not buffering. Okay, so that's the third pillar of Wealth Without Guilt. And then the final one is, what are your money blocks? Because oh boy, have I come to understand this both in myself and in the clients that I coach. There is a huge, I think, there are common mind blocks around money when you are making your first $100,000. And I've got evidence of this both in myself and in the clients that I coach. I've worked with clients at the just starting out level, and then I've worked with clients who are building multi six figure businesses. And there is a totally common kind of scrappy kind of, you're investing a lot back into the business often in your first 100,000. You're not necessarily seeing a lot of profit. But then something dramatically shifts when you start making over 100,000 and beyond. And it can be tempting to think that I just need to make more money and everything will be better. But I'm here to tell you from very, very lived personal experience that that is just not the case. What happens if you Hi guys, sorry, I'm back. Um, you will have the same amount of drama. You will have the same amount of stress. So it doesn't really matter if you, like make more money, you will be in the exact same spot. And sorry, I'm just going to pause and make sure. Can you all hear me? Josh, can you hear me? Am I good? Okay, wonderful. Sorry, we just had a little feed issue there. So, yeah, that's it. Like you've got to clear up your money stuff if you want to make more. Making more money isn't going to do it. You're just going to be exhausted. I can just tell you this from very personal experience. You are just going to be more exhausted and more challenged. And so, wealth without guilt, those are the four pillars of wealth without guilt. Some of the transformations that I have seen inside of wealth without guilt include people being able to do this but not at the expense of um their family, their time with their family, not at the expense of their health. Some of the very tactile, tangible outcomes that I have seen from women that I have coached through this methodology are their first $1,000, their first $10,000. Using what I'm teaching inside of Wealth Without Guilt, I helped an interior designer launch her first online course, and she made $10,000 over the span of about 10 days or so. I've also been able to help an incredible woman scale her business to multi six figures and earn her clients. She's a coach for other people. Earn her clients. Like I think she's going to hit $1 million in terms of the way that she's helped her clients make money. And then I've helped women grow their email lists from, 10 people, which was just their friends and family, to, 100, 200 people by launching an event or launching their first, giveaway, all that kind of stuff. My favorite thing though is, well, there's 2 things that are my favorite inside of Wealth Without Guilt. And that's the clarity on this is exactly what I'm supposed to do. That gives me so much energy and so much joy helping a woman discern, like, this is what I was called to do. And then watching them do it, watching them just be like, oh my gosh, like, this is what I've meant to be doing this whole time. It just gives me so much joy. And then the other thing that I love doing is helping women make money. Like I am so convicted that the pursuit of wealth can make a person the person they're meant to be because of the impact it can make, because of the generosity a woman then can provide, because of then the jobs a woman can create for others, which will then help other people generate wealth. I just like what what we do with our money is then of course where we have to be careful, obviously. But the pursuit of building wealth can be such a transformative thing for everyone when done with virtue in mind. And so, oh, I love helping people make money. And so the investment for Wealth Without Guilt is 1997 for a 6-month experience. And while I obviously can't make a guarantee, or at least in this experience, I'm not making a guarantee, the idea here is that you make that money back and then some. Like, and then some. You make that money back and then some, so that this becomes again like just something that helps you make money. Now we are in the early stages of Wealth Without Guilt. I just launched this at my Possibility Mom Business Summit. So this is a brand new experience. This is your opportunity to get in on the ground floor, like, and have tons of access to me and tons of access to live coaching. And so in Wealth Without Guilt, similar to Motherhood Without Guilt, you get access to some core training. So those 4 pillars are offered to you or delivered to you in recorded trainings, but you get access to me weekly. And I want to really just encourage you that wherever you are in your life right now, if either of these programs sound appealing, just click on the links that are in the description below and give it a read and discern if you are a mom who's feeling trapped and want to feel less guilty about your life and want to feel more empowered to think thoughts that are going to lead you closer to the life that God wants for your life. Motherhood Without Guilt might be for you. And you can claim your spot today to join me for my next round opening up in February. And PS, secret PS, I'm trying to figure out a way that that particular experience can actually be what we call evergreen. Okay. So I haven't figured out exactly how we're going to do that because right now, the way I run it, it's like you come in and you start at lesson 1 of the Art of Being a Woman masterclass, and then you work your way through. But I really, again, it just doesn't, I'm not satisfied by that. It means that I can only help a certain number of people at a certain juncture of time. If you have any thoughts about how I could make this a more evergreen experience, put them in the comments. But I really have a desire to change as many lives as possible. So if you've got an idea for me, let me know because I want to make that open to all at any time come February. But right now, I've decided to honor the experience of this group as it is. And then come February, figure out a way to open the doors forever. So if you want to get in on that now, you can claim your spot in Motherhood Without Guilt by visiting bit.ly/motherhood without guilt. And then Wealth Without Guilt is open right now. You can get in the doors of Wealth Without Guilt. I originally was going to make that a closed enrollment experience, meaning just it was open at certain times of the year and we were going to go through it in cohorts, but I really like I just what I feel like the Lord has sort of revealed to me in my heart is this is anytime. Like I want to help women with all the things that I shared with you at any time. So I've decided to make Wealth Without Guilt an open enrollment. There will be special sort of promotions and special things to sweeten the pot. I just ran one, for example, if you were able to watch it on my live, I ran a really sweet promo for if you joined within a certain amount of time. So there will be things like that where the pot will be sweetened when you join, but I want to make it anytime. Like, really, you need help? I want to be the place where, especially a mom who wants to keep God at the center of her personal and business development, can do that. That's just a gap that I see in the market. And I've shared this last week on the podcast. I've shared this many times before. I love learning from secular sources. I love learning from people with different worldviews than I. But I found it a little bit exhausting to constantly have to be like, is this in line with my worldview? Does this fall in line with what the Catholic Church teaches on mindset? I'd have to go to all these sources. I have to do all of this research on my own. And I just was like, this is exhausting. And so I wanted to provide an option out there for anyone like me who wants an authentic experience that doesn't conflict with their Catholic or Christian worldview. And that is what I believe I have put together in both of these offerings. And I am beyond excited about both of them. Like, beyond. I really just think that I just really think that the more people who have a desire to do good, if we can equip them with all the mindset and skill set things that they need, like, imagine the incredible ripple effect that could happen. That possibility, the idea of linking arms with like-minded women and forming this army of world changers who are led with God at the center of their hearts and their minds, is so compelling to me. And if you want to link arms with me, I want to invite you to join me inside of Wealth Without Guilt, which is open right now, or inside Motherhood Without Guilt, which you can gain immediate access to some of the content now, but then the majority of it in February. All right. So click the links in my description. Now, I promised you before we left, I wanted to give you a taste of what it is like to coach with me live. And on the Possibility Mom Business Summit, I invited the beautiful Kathleen LeBlanc of We Are Found Together to get some coaching live and in real time. And so I want to share that coaching experience with you right now. Here we go. First of all, again, thank you for your willingness to be vulnerable and to share very publicly with all the people who are on this stream and who will watch the replay. Tell me about your circumstance that you would like some coaching on.
Okay. So I guess backing up, when we first started coaching together, we really wanted to grow our music ministry and what we were doing. And it really worked to just set aside, we really set aside like one night a week where we were going to just like dream, start doing stuff to make it bigger. And things are growing. Like, we're really excited where things are headed. But I feel like we're kind of at a point where we're not ready to go full time, like financially.
But your husband has another job, right?
Yes, sorry. My husband works, and I'm at home with the kids. And we need more time than just like pockets of time while the kids are sleeping, or like, once they go to bed. I'm very curious about these French women and how they manage small children who need like constant supervision. Because I find that my kids, my son is 2 and my daughter is 6 months, and they're not at an age yet where they can really play independently, let alone together. And now, like, that I have a second child, like, they don't nap at the same time. So my precious nap time where I could do work is kind of gone. And then, like, secondly, for some of the work we have to do, like, Jesse and I both have to be together.
Right.
There's
like
a lot
you're singer-songwriters, right? So you have to, like, and it has to be somewhat quiet.
Yes, exactly, to be writing music or leading retreats or whatever. So there is a lot I can do on my own. So that I'm trying to find the time when my kids are, or how to have basically two things. Like I want to find a routine where I can be here with my kids, but not like ignore them so I can do work.
Yeah.
Um, but then also like how do I fast track this phase of like between trying to find part time, like doing it part time at home and being full time. Like what do I do in this weird in between time
Sure.
where I need to
So, what is the thought, Kathleen, currently that feels the most true? That has the most weight, that just feels like this is just it. What's the thought that you would say feels the most true right now?
I guess that I've like maxed out on the amount of time that I have available to do the work.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. Okay. And when you think, is it fair to say, so your circumstances that you want to grow your business, right? Is it fair to say that your current thought is, I am maxed out?
Of the time, yeah. Not the energy, but the time. Mhm.
Okay. And when you think this thought, I am maxed out of time, how does it make you feel?
I guess just stuck.
And when you feel stuck, what do you do? And I don't mean like, what do you do to get out of feeling stuck? Like, what do you actually do when you feel stuck?
Um, well, I either kind of get overwhelmed and stay up way too late, trying to like cram all the things in that I couldn't get done in the time I hoped I would have. And so like I guess I just put my other things kind of have to be put aside that I wouldn't normally, you know what I mean? Like I don't get the rest that I need or
Oh, that's interesting. So
overdrive.
you sacrifice rest. So what's interesting to me though is that, hmm, so this feeling of being stuck, you're still taking action. So that's really interesting to me. But you're taking it at a time that is making you sacrifice rest. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not sustainable.
Unsustainable. So what I'm going to put here in the result line is it's unsustainable. That's what's happening.
Mhm.
And I know this feeling very well. And I'm sure many people feel the same way. Okay. So staying up late working. Okay. So here's what's so cool about coaching, everybody. Okay. This is now what we have, the reality. We've captured the reality. And what's so fun is we can just simply put a little bit of space, a little bit of objectivity, if you will, between ourselves and our thoughts. Okay. And so, what I want to do now is pivot us to see if we can find a thought and a set of actions that will get you what you want, because you don't want this. You don't want this to be unsustainable. And
Mhm.
I can tell just from knowing you for a while that you also don't want to give up the music. Like you
Mhm.
you are very, well, I want everybody to go and visit them. Josh, put their website up on the thing. I want everybody to go and see their music because number one, they're adorable. Like you guys, your newest music video, I just about died at just how sweet it was. Like it's like there's this scene where they're literally just staring into each other's eyes. And I think in other circumstances, I would be like, that's the cheesiest thing I've ever seen. But I don't know what it is about you guys. You have such an earnestness and a sweetness about you. I love it so much. Anyway, so I want everybody to go check out We Are Found Together on Facebook. Okay. So, Kathleen, what is it that you want? If you were to summarize it in one sentence in regards to your music and your ability to show up as a mom, what is it that you want?
I guess there's a lot. I mean, I don't know if this is the right spot to put this, but I mean, ideally, both Jesse and I are free to do this full time so that we can be present to our kids and to our ministry and not just be doing it in pockets of time that are kind of stressful. um,
Okay. Yeah. So to be honest, I think that is a good spot to put this. What we want is to basically have Jesse quit his full-time job.
yeah, really, he's the best one to be with the kids when it's not me, you know. So yeah,
Okay, wait a minute. Because that's just a thought. Okay. Not and sorry, I'm not trying to refute that he's a great person to be with the kids.
yeah.
But I'm really curious, is there something we need to coach on in childcare?
Hmm.
I'm positing the question. So just for clarity, obviously your husband is a good person to put the kids with.
Mhm, mhm.
And yes, you could actually argue that he is the best person
to put the kids with. But I'm really curious if there's something in here around childcare that is feeling very icky or
Mhm.
challenging for you. And you are welcome to not answer that question. I realize we are very live and in real time, so I appreciate your vulnerability. Is there something around childcare that is like, because let me just pose the question, okay? So I'm coaching in the A line for a moment, okay? So I'm going to coach in action. What I advise my clients to do all the time, because I've done this kind of every single way, and this is my favorite way to do things. It takes a lot of risk if you're going to jump in with 2 feet, okay? Um, when you don't have proof yet that you know how to make money. It's a point in my life that we definitely did, and it was a challenging one because the business didn't make the money that I thought it would quickly. It took basically double the amount of time. So my husband jumped in with 2 feet. It took a little bit more time than I thought for the business to really like take off to kind of where it is now. He went back into some employment so that our family obviously could financially sustain itself, and then was able to kind of come back in. He's sort of been this like nebulous, if you will, coming back in and out. Nebulous, is that not the word? Not the word? Anyway, organic, whatever. He's like peanut gallery. Peanut gallery over here, my stream director. But the point I'm trying to make is that what I always advise people is that if possible, it is very strategic. It is simply strategic to build a business while someone has a full-time income. Now, of course, just everybody hear me, because for the people in the back who are like, that's irresponsible. Why would you do that? Da, da, da. I mean, do it responsibly. Don't not show up for your full-time job. Don't be like a slacker. You know what I mean? Do it with virtue and excellence and all the things. But I do think it is very strategic while you have a full-time income to build something. Okay. So I think we can still put to have Jesse quit and do this full time, do music full time. I still think we can put that in the result line. But I have a feeling there might be something around childcare we need to coach you on. I'm curious because the action line for this, okay, so if the result is this, we start at the result and we're going to work backwards, okay? And we're going to work backwards from the model that we have it over here, right? Our feelings are causing our actions, and then that's what's producing our results. So we're going to just work it backwards. To have Jesse quit and do music full time would have to mean a couple of things. So one thing in the action line is income is replaced, right? That's just a reality. So the income would have to be replaced, which would mean that you would need to have clarity. I'm going to write clarity around the activities to make money. And for you guys, it's going to be things like obviously selling music, right? Because I know the context we're talking in here, it's probably some events that you run, and it might possibly be other forms of passive income, right?
Mhm.
Whether that passive income is music, like literally just selling a single, selling an album, whether that might be taking a event that you do live and then selling that as an experience that you can participate in from home, like an online course, for example. So you would need to have some clarity around the activities to make the money.
Mhm.
And then, of course, you would have to have a schedule to allow you to do this. So the question I have for you is, how would you do this full time if who would watch your kids while you guys do this full time?
Well, so like I said, there's a lot of stuff that can be done individually, but there is stuff that has to be done together. So I imagine in the first phase of it, whatever, we would still do the stuff we can do together in the evening once the kids are in bed. And during the day, do the individual things while we kind of switch off. That's called like Jesse's home on Wednesdays currently. And so like usually that's my work day to kind of I do a lot of kind of administration, social media kind of stuff on the back end, the writing. And then, like, you're right, like we do rely on babysitters for some like events, and we'll have to play and that kind of thing. And typically, well, I guess currently my children are kind of both COVID kids, so the
Right.
only real babysitters we have had that I trust and my kids are familiar with are like my mom
Mhm.
and my sister.
Mhm.
But they also work. So
Mhm.
I just find that the childcare that I can and I'm comfortable with at this point, access is not as reliable as I would want it to be, because I can't say every this time of week you're watching the kids because they both have jobs and school and whatever. Um, but maybe I have to explore that more, and be more
Yeah.
like I know you're gonna say this to me, is I am uncomfortable as I'm saying this out loud with asking that of them, because I just feels this is so bad. It feels selfish to me to be like, this is not really a real job.
Now here's the thing.
My kids
Okay,
with
Kathleen, we've just uncovered the real thought. Okay, so everybody, this is how this works. This is how coaching works. It's pulling back the layers, and what we have just identified is the actual thought that I think is causing you to not make the progress you want. And the thought that I heard you say is, this is not a real job. When you say to yourself, this is not a real job, how does it make you feel?
Like, I know it's not true.
Okay, but no, that's not what I asked you.
Okay.
How does it make you feel?
Well, what's the word I'm looking for?
Like silly?
Yeah, like I guess silly and kind of like embarrassed a little bit. Like,
Yes. Josh, how do I spell embarrassed? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This is embarrassing. Can you please just tell me how to spell it? Okay, embarrassed. I hope that's how you spell embarrassed.
okay.
And then when you are embarrassed, what do you do?
I guess I freeze.
2 hours. And in the context of this conversation of childcare, right? So the circumstance is really childcare, okay? And then the action is you freeze, meaning do not ask, right?
Mhm.
Or maybe don't find other alternatives. Because I personally believe that it doesn't just have to be a mom, like your mom or your sister who watches kids, but you do not ask, okay? And then the result is kind of what's happening back here, which is that you're sacrificing rest, which is unsustainable.
Mhm.
Everybody, this is what's so powerful about doing this thought work. Okay. So, what I think actually, Kathleen, we need to do in you is change this thought,
Mhm.
because I think this is what's really causing you to be like, no, I'm not going to ask my mom. Now, there might be some other things that we could coach on regarding having other people watch your children, but for the context of today, I'm just going to invite you to do some thinking about that, because I really do believe eventually. Now, that happened to us. It was a really great fit for a while until it wasn't a fit any longer. So meaning it was incredibly helpful to have my mom and my dad help, but as we had more kids and as they got older, it was just sort of a natural consequence of all of that reality, that it was just sort of clear that this is a lot of children for 70-year-olds to watch and whatnot. So I'm of the belief that we could totally coach um, on that. But here's the thing that I want to do today. The results that I think I want for you, which will then help you with what we just talked about, which is like finding the systems, finding how you're actually going to make the money and all of that, is this is meaningful work. Kathleen, do you believe you're supposed to use your music?
Absolutely.
Do you believe that it could change someone's life?
Mhm.
And tell me why.
Well, what we're passionate about is people finding freedom in their relationship with God and with each other. And whether we're doing it intentionally or not, I just know that God is using our relationship, Jesse and I, to be a witness of what authentic married love can be, and can allow people to find that freedom in their own relationships, whether it's with their family or their spouse or their kids. Um, and so I think that when we are authentically ourselves through our music and our speaking, that kind of stuff, that people are moved in that way. Um, and so, yeah, I know that it's meaningful. Um, yeah, I know that it is.
So, what I think you need to put, or what I would encourage you to put in your A line here, is this sort of idea of, I want you to connect with that all the time. Like, I want you to remind yourself why you're doing this. So, your action step here is like consistently remind self this is from God and not selfish.
Mm.
And again, just from knowing you, I don't think this will be difficult for you. I think this might just be literally like journaling, or literally like, I don't know, like watching videos of yourself, or kind of reminding yourself of the results of past events. um it might be, I'm looking at it right now. I have a Yay Lisa folder on my computer because I struggle a lot with doubt and self-reliance and feeling like I'm failing at every corner. And so my husband literally was like, I'm making you a Yay Lisa folder so that you can have this little like roundup of stories of people who have been touched by your work in those moments when you want to fall to despair. Funny story, actually. I'm just going to pull up my phone for a moment. My mindset coach, Erin Ingold, she texted me this morning and was like, "How's it going?" And I was like, "Well, if you were asking me as a friend, I would be like, it's going great." And then I said, "But if you're asking me as my mindset coach, I would say that I am prone to discouragement. I can very easily see the things that went wrong or the things that I could have done better." And she texted me back, "Just remember, you are teaching people an abundance mindset, and this is invaluable, and keep that compelling reason at the forefront." So the word I want to just leave you with here is compelling reason. What is your compelling reason to do this? Because Kathleen, it's not selfish, because I just, from knowing you, I know it's not selfish. Okay. So if you could connect with this compelling reason every day, like every time you pray, every time you take a shower, every time you pass through a doorway, like anything, how do you think you would feel?
Much more confident.
Confident. Let's use the word confident. And Kathleen, in your life, where do you currently feel confident?
Where do I currently feel confident?
And it can be anywhere. It could be in your marriage. It could be as a mom. It could be like getting dressed in the morning. It could be literally anything, like anything.
Yeah, in my marriage, I feel confident.
hmm hmm
Mhm.
What does this confidence feel like? Like, describe it to me in a few words.
Um, I guess not afraid of making decisions or being myself, or just like not afraid that there's going to be some sort of like awkward backlash or like something I didn't expect. There's freedom in it because
Yeah.
I'm completely myself, and it's okay to make mistakes or be different, or
Mm. Mm. So I want you to channel that place of freedom. And we don't have time to go into it, but if we were coaching longer, I would have you really like go into that place. Like if that was a color, what color would it be? If that was a shape, what shape would it be? If you had to like imagine it in like an action, like a cartwheel or like a somersault, like what would that action look like? Okay. So this place of freedom and confidence. With all of that in mind, what is a thought that we could think that would get you to this place of confidence, that would help you to constantly connect with your compelling reason, that would allow you to feel like this is meaningful work, which I think would then fuel everything else? What is a thought that you could think?
What's coming to mind, I guess, is to say, I'm gonna cry as I say it.
Just say it.
Uh, don't allow anything to get in the way of the Lord's call.
This is the Lord's call. And I will not let anything get in the way. This is the Lord's call, and I will not let anything get in the way. I bet you the next time you feel, oh, there's no way I could ask my mom for help, or oh, there's no way I can move this forward without Jesse quitting his full-time job. Because I'll be honest with you, that is just a thought. I believe that you guys could build this while he has his full-time job. And I believe it's more strategic to build it while he has his full-time job. But what it's going to require is you being able to block off, let's say, 2 sessions a week. Like I arbitrarily came up with that, but what I would do, Kathleen, honestly, is just think, like, what would you need to move this along forward? Get clear on those activities. So, like, for example, we want to have a product that we can sell passively. Okay. And then, this is what I teach in my personal branding boot camp. Like, what are all those steps necessary? So we would have to have a product in a place like Kartra. We would have to have a way for people to buy it on a place like Kartra. So like a website where you can click a button and it says buy now and it gets connected to a shopping cart, all those kinds of things, right? And then just literally have that in a list and then be like, what is the amount of childcare that I can responsibly do in this season of my life? And that could be 2 mornings or whatever. So like, let's say Jesse's off on Wednesdays. What if it's like you always have a babysitter Wednesday morning and Saturday morning, just as a total arbitrary example. And then I would simply just plot out, we can get this many tasks done on Wednesday. And then we can get this many tasks done on Saturday. And then so on and so forth and so on and so forth. And you might come to the place where you're like, we could move this a lot faster if we had a little bit more time. So then you can start looking at, okay, well, do we have the resources to hire some things out? Are there things that I can ask people in my life to do for free for me? Are there things that I can do in the margins of my motherhood when children are sleeping? But that's what I think your immediate action is take this thought. This is the Lord's call, and I will not let anything get in the way. Let that fuel this like sit down strategy session that I would encourage you to have. And you get to decide how fast you move. That's it.
How fun was that, you guys? How fun was that? I hope that gave you a taste of what it is like to coach with me. That is what you get access to. That level of not only action strategy, but mindset coaching, which, as you saw in that example, was hugely pivotal for Kathleen. And here's the thing, guys, it's pivotal for everybody. Because as you could see there was something else that was actually driving Kathleen's feeling of, or what have you, Kathleen's, whatever you want to call it, her lack of action, or her pausing in momentum, whatever you want to call it. If she had carried around this feeling of what I do is not a real job, or this work is silly, no amount of coaching I would give her would help until we figured out the actual thought holding her back. All right. So that is what is available to you in Wealth Without Guilt. That is what is available in Motherhood Without Guilt. And there you go. I want to invite you, if either of these sound appealing, if both of them sound appealing, click on the links, give the pages a read. If you want to send me a DM on Instagram, feel free. Wealth Without Guilt, the calls are on Monday. So you have got time. If you want to get in on that action immediately and take advantage of the coaching call on Monday at 2 p.m. East, come on in.
There's so much room at my table for you. This was a long one today, guys. Thanks for tuning in all the way to the end. It is such a joy to spend time with you in this capacity on Fridays. And I'm just so grateful. These are the two ways that I'm going to be coaching with people primarily, or the two main ways that you can work with me primarily: motherhood without guilt and wealth without guilt. I'm going to be doing a lot to change on my website and all that to reflect this area of focus. What I desire is Christ-centered personal and business transformation for anyone who wants it. And what I desire is great impact in the world. I want to link arms with other women who want to do the exact same thing. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you next time.